NFPA 70E, Section 110.26e, states that disconnecting means shall be readily accessible and operable without climbing over or within the working space above the equipment. This means disconnect should be easily accessible from floor level without climbing or reaching over obstacles. An extension handle can be considered an acceptable method to meet the readily accessible requirement if it meets certain criteria. Firstly, the extension handle should be long enough to reach the disconnect from the floor level without requiring climbing or reaching over obstacles. Secondly, the handle should be rigid enough to ensure proper operation of the disconnect. Thirdly, ideally, the extension handle should be permanently attached to the disconnect to prevent unauthorized removal. While the use of extension handles is not specifically addressed in NFPA 70E, the authority having jurisdiction or electrical inspector may interpret the requirement for readily accessible disconnects as prohibiting the use of extension handles. While it is possible that the extension handles installed may be legally acceptable, it is recommended to consult with the authority having jurisdiction or electrical inspector for confirmation. If possible, exploring alternative solutions to make the disconnects more readily accessible from the floor level would be ideal, such as installing a permanent step or rearranging the control cabinets. There are several factors to consider when determining if an extension handle is an acceptable solution for making a disconnect readily accessible. These factors primarily relate to safety and code compliance. Firstly, the height of the disconnect is a critical factor. The higher the disconnect, the more challenging it becomes to operate safely with an extension handle. The standard height for readily accessible equipment is typically specified in local or national electrical codes. Secondly, the design and construction of the extension handle itself play a significant role. The handle must be robust and securely attached to the disconnect switch. If the handle is flimsy or poorly connected, it could lead to unreliable operation or even failure, potentially creating a hazardous situation. Thirdly, the operating force required to switch the disconnect is important. Some disconnects require significant force to operate, especially those that are older or heavily loaded. An extension handle may amplify the force needed, making it difficult for the operator to actuate the switch safely. Fourthly, the presence of any obstructions or hazards around the disconnect should be considered. If there are obstacles that could impede the operator's movement or create a risk of falls, the extension handle might not be a suitable solution. Fifthly, the extension handle must be readily accessible. The disconnect should be easily accessible from the floor level without requiring any climbing or reaching over obstacles. Sixthly, the handle should be rigid enough to ensure proper operation of the disconnect. Seventhly, the extension handle should be permanently attached to the disconnect to prevent unauthorized removal. It is also crucial to check with a local authority having jurisdiction for their interpretation of the code. They have the final say on whether the setup is compliant. They might have specific requirements or restrictions regarding the use of extension handles. An alternative to using an extension handle is to relocate the disconnect to a more accessible location. This might involve moving the entire control cabinet or adjust the disconnect switch itself. Another option is to install a permanent platform or step to provide easier access to the disconnect. The platform should be sturdy and comply with safety regulations. If the disconnect is difficult to operate due to its age or condition, it might be necessary to replace it with a newer model that requires less force to actuate. The new disconnect should also meet current safety standards. Also, consider installing a remote operator for the disconnect. This allows the disconnect to be operated from a safe distance, eliminating the need for an extension handle or platform. Remote operators can be wired or wireless. Regular maintenance and inspection of the extension handle and disconnect are essential to ensure continued safe operation. Check for any signs of wear, damage, or loose connections. Another alternative to make the disconnect accessible could include installing a ground-level operator. This would eliminate the need for reaching high to operate the disconnect. Furthermore, it improves safety and ease of access. When deciding on a method to make the disconnect accessible, document the reasons for choosing that particular method. If an accident ever occurred, then you could pull out the document to prove that you considered all options and made the safest choice. Also, By documenting the reason for the decision, it can be reviewed in the future to see if it is still the best solution. In terms of regulations, several sections of the National Electrical Code and NFPA 70E could apply to this situation. NEC Section 110.26 covers working space about electrical equipment. This section specifies the required clearances and access for electrical equipment. This ensures that workers have enough space to safely operate and maintain the equipment. NEC Section 430.102 addresses the location of disconnecting means for motor circuits. It requires that the disconnect be readily accessible and located within sight of the motor. This allows for quick and easy shutdown of the motor in case of an emergency. NFPA 70E Section 130.4 discusses the requirements for an electrically safe working condition. It mandates that electrical equipment be de-energized before any work is performed on it. If de-energizing is not feasible, then appropriate safety measures must be taken to protect workers from electrical hazards. When considering the use of extension handles, it is essential to evaluate the potential hazards. If the extension handle is not properly designed or installed, it could create an increased risk of electrical shock or arc flash. Any modification to electrical equipment should be performed by a qualified electrician who is familiar with the applicable codes and standards. Always consult the manufacturer's instructions for the disconnect switch to ensure that any modifications do not void the warranty or compromise the safety of the equipment. Be sure to perform a hazard assessment. This involves identifying potential hazards associated with the use of the extension handle, such as electrical shock, arc flash, and falls. A risk assessment should also be done. This involves evaluating the likelihood and severity of each hazard. Based on the hazard in risk assessments, implement appropriate safety measures to mitigate the risks. These measures could include providing personal protective equipment, such as insulated gloves and eye protection, and developing safe work procedures. Ensure that all workers who operate the disconnect with the extension handle are properly trained on the safe work procedures and the potential hazards involved. Training should include hands-on practice and regular refresher courses. If there is an accident involving the disconnect or extension handle, it is crucial to have an incident response plan in place. This plan should outline the steps to be taken in case of an emergency, such as providing first aid, contacting emergency services, and investigating the incident. Document all accidents and near misses to identify any trends or patterns that could indicate underlying safety issues. Use this information to improve safety procedures and prevent future incidents. When evaluating an extension handle, consider these design factors. The material used for the extension handle should be strong, durable, and non-conductive. Common materials include fiberglass, PVC, and reinforced polymers. The handle should be designed to provide a comfortable and secure grip for the operator. The grip should be slip-resistant and ergonomically shaped to reduce fatigue. The extension handle should be long enough to allow the operator to reach the disconnect from a safe distance without having to climb or reach over obstacles. However, the handle should not be so long that it becomes unwieldy or difficult to control. The connection between the extension handle and the disconnect switch should be secure and reliable. The connection should be designed to prevent the handle from coming loose or disconnecting during operation. The extension handle should be visually inspected on a regular basis to check for any signs of damage, wear, or corrosion. Any damaged or worn handle should be replaced immediately. The disconnect switch and extension handle should be maintained in good working condition. This includes lubricating moving parts, tightening loose connections, and replacing any damaged components. Develop a written procedure for the safe operation of the disconnect switch with the extension handle. This procedure should outline the steps to be taken before, during, and after operation. The procedure should be reviewed and updated on a regular basis. When operating the disconnect switch with an extension handle, always wear appropriate personal protective equipment such as insulated gloves, safety glasses, and arc-rated clothing. Before operating the disconnect switch, visually inspect the switch and extension handle to ensure that they are in good working condition. Check for any signs of damage, wear, or corrosion. Ensure that the area around the disconnect switch is clear of any obstructions or hazards. This will help to prevent accidents and injuries. Use a smooth, controlled motion when operating the disconnect switch with the extension handle. Avoid jerky or sudden movements, which could damage the switch or cause the handle to come loose. After operating the disconnect switch, inspect the switch and extension handle again to ensure that they are still in good working condition. Report any problems or concerns to the appropriate personnel. Keep accurate records of all inspections, maintenance, and repairs performed on the disconnect switch and extension handle. These records can be used to track the performance of the equipment and identify any potential problems. Always comply with all applicable electrical codes and standards when operating the disconnect switch with the extension handle. In addition to the design and installation of the extension handle, consider the overall workplace environment. Adequate lighting is essential for safe operation of the disconnect switch. Ensure that the area around the switch is well lit to prevent slips, trips, and falls. The floor surface around the disconnect switch should be clean, dry, and free of any slip hazards. Any spills or debris should be cleaned up immediately. Provide adequate ventilation in the area around the disconnect switch to prevent the buildup of hazardous gases or fumes. Consider installing warning signs or labels near the disconnect switch to alert workers to the potential hazards. The signs should be clearly visible and easy to understand. Regularly review and update the safety procedures for operating the disconnect switch with the extension handle. This will help to ensure that the procedures remain effective and relevant. Encourage workers to provide feedback on the safety procedures and to report any potential hazards. This will help to identify areas where the procedures can be improved. It's worth exploring arc flash protection when dealing with electrical disconnects. Arc flash is a dangerous phenomenon that can occur when there is a fault in an electrical system. The intense heat and energy released during an arc flash can cause serious burns, injuries, and even death. To protect workers from arc flash hazards, it is essential to perform an arc flash risk assessment. This assessment will help to identify the potential arc flash hazards in the workplace and determine the appropriate safety measures to be taken. Based on the results of the arc flash risk assessment, implement appropriate arc flash protection measures. These measures could include providing arc-rated clothing, installing arc flash barriers, and developing safe work procedures. Ensure that all workers who work on or near electrical equipment are properly trained on arc flash hazards and the appropriate safety measures to be taken. Training should include hands-on practice and regular refresher courses. Regularly inspect and maintain all arc flash protection equipment to ensure that it is in good working condition. This includes inspecting arc-rated clothing for any signs of damage or wear and testing arc flash barriers to ensure that they are functioning properly. Install arc flash warning labels on electrical equipment to alert workers to the potential hazards. The label should include information about the arc flash boundary, the incident energy level, and the required personal protective equipment. If possible, design electrical systems to minimize the risk of arc flash. This could involve using arc-resistant equipment, installing ground fault protection, and reducing the operating voltage. Establish an arc flash safety program to ensure that all workers are aware of the hazards and the appropriate safety measures to be taken. The program should include written policies and procedures, training requirements, and regular audits. Consult with a qualified electrical engineer or safety professional to ensure that the arc flash protection measures are appropriate for the specific workplace. While extension handles might offer a seemingly straightforward solution, a comprehensive approach considering safety, code compliance, and potential alternatives is essential. It ensures a safe working environment while adhering to regulatory standards. When considering alternative solutions to improve accessibility to electrical disconnects, weigh the advantages and disadvantages of each option. Moving the control cabinet might be feasible if space allows. The advantage is better accessibility. However, it can be costly and disruptive to operations. Installing a permanent step provides a stable platform for reaching the disconnect. It's relatively inexpensive but may not be practical in tight spaces. Replacing the disconnect with a remote-controlled unit allows operation from a safe distance. It enhances safety but involves higher upfront costs. A ground-level operator offers easy access. It simplifies operation and reduces risk. However, it requires significant modifications to the existing setup. Each alternative has its own set of benefits and drawbacks. The choice depends on the specific constraints and priorities of the situation. Also, review the documentation and labeling practices. Clear and accurate documentation is crucial for maintaining safety and compliance in electrical systems. Ensure that all electrical equipment, including disconnects and extension handles, is properly labeled with clear and concise information. Labels should identify the equipment, its voltage rating, and any other relevant information. Keep accurate records of all inspections, maintenance, and repairs performed on electrical equipment. These records can be used to track the performance of the equipment and identify any potential problems. Maintain up-to-date electrical drawings and schematics to accurately reflect the current configuration of the electrical system. The drawings should be readily available to qualified personnel. Store all electrical documentation in a secure location where it can be easily accessed when needed. Consider using a digital document management system to improve accessibility and organization. Train all workers who work on or near electrical equipment on the importance of proper documentation and labeling practices. The training should cover the types of information that should be included on labels and the procedures for maintaining accurate records. Regularly review and update the documentation and labeling practices to ensure that they remain effective and relevant. In conclusion, when dealing with electrical disconnects that are difficult to reach, it is important to carefully consider all available options and to choose the solution that provides the best combination of safety, accessibility, and code compliance. Extension handles can be a viable option in some cases, but they should only be used if they are properly designed, installed, and maintained. Remember to consult with a local authority having jurisdiction to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and standards.